In June of 2017, shortly after the Cavaliers lost in the NBA Finals, the NBA draft was happening. The draft always has teams thinking of what players they can get and what deals they may have to make to get there. Apparently, on draft day, Cavaliers team management discussed some what if options about Kyrie Irving's future, but it never got farther than that. However, this talk got back to Irving, and it didn't make him happy. Irving was always given a backseat to LeBron, and now they were thinking about shipping him out in order to win a championship instead of trying to build around him. That seems like a pretty good reason for Kyrie to be upset, confirming his ideas all along that people had little respect for him, even his own team. In the middle of July, news broke that Kyrie wanted out of Cleveland, and the reason for him requesting a trade was pretty mind-boggling. Irving wanted to play in a situation where he was the center point, and he no longer wanted to play beside LeBron James. When LeBron heard the news, he was blindsided and disappointed. Who wouldn't be? Kyrie and LeBron went to war with each other for years. They ended a championship drought across all sports for the city of Cleveland that was going on for over 50 years. They could have gotten one more star and have a real shot at taking down the Golden State Warriors dynasty. But Kyrie wanted to be the man. He didn't want anyone else getting in his way of being the star. He wanted to be the center of attention. Living in LeBron's shadow for all those years got to him, and Kyrie even talked about this after their championship win together. Kyrie said, "Having just a tremendously great player like that come to your team, and you see yourself being one of the great players eventually, and then he ends up joining it, and then now you have to almost take a step back and observe, finding that balance is one of the toughest things to do because you have so much belief and confidence in yourself. Selfishly, I always wanted to just show everyone in the whole entire world exactly who I was every single time." Was Kyrie going to ask for a trade regardless of the draft day talks about his future in Cleveland? Probably. It seems Kyrie knew all along what he wanted to do, and whether the draft day talks were a tipping point for him, or if they were just another excuse used to soften the blow and not look so bad, the reasoning for him leaving was the same. Wanting to be the center of attention drove Kyrie to nearly ask for a trade after winning an NBA championship, and it ultimately led to him asking for a trade the following season. With all of the drama surrounding the Cavaliers, they sent out Kyrie Irving to the Celtics about a month after the trade request. Now LeBron and Kyrie could see how they could play without each other's help. With the Celtics having a really good all-around team with young talent, and the Cavaliers being left with a team that didn't look so good anymore without Kyrie, it would be quite an interesting season. As the season progressed, there wasn't much talk about the beef between these two players. The Cavaliers and Celtics were top teams in the Eastern Conference leading up to the All-Star break, and once the All-Star game hit, both Kyrie and LeBron were on the same squad. At the All-Star game, they just looked like regular teammates. The pair were laughing, cracking jokes, and even shooting around together before the game. It seemed like the two were fine, and there was no beef between each other. The playoffs rolled around, and the Cavaliers ended up making the finals, beating Kyrie's new team, the Celtics, to get there. However, Kyrie was injured, so he didn't play a game against the Cavaliers. What a matchup that would have been. The Cavaliers ended up getting swept in the finals to the Warriors, which came to no one's surprise. After the season, LeBron ended up leaving the Cavaliers for the Lakers, and Kyrie was still with the Celtics. That next season, Kyrie commented about LeBron's leadership ability, and said that he actually called LeBron up to apologize to him. Irving, speaking as if he was an NBA veteran, said, "The young guys don't know what it takes to be a championship level team, what it takes every day. And if they think it's hard now, what do they think it will be like when we're trying to get to the finals?" There really seemed to be no beef between the two, until LeBron was in the NBA Finals. Once LeBron was in the finals, he was facing up against a young Miami Heat team that had quite a bit of injuries, with most people really surprised they were there in the first place. At the beginning of that series, Kyrie went on a podcast with his teammate Kevin Durant and made some subtle comments about LeBron that everyone picked up on. Kyrie said, "One thing I've always been comfortable with is I felt like I was the best option on every team I played for down the stretch. This is the first time in my career where I can look down and be like, that mother effer can make that shot too." Immediately, most people were taken back by these comments because Kyrie had LeBron on his team, and LeBron can definitely hit shots too. I don't think there was a year or even a playoff series that Kyrie had more points per game than LeBron, so I really don't understand what he was trying to get at. Also, opposed to media narratives, LeBron is pretty good down the stretch, and Kyrie saying that he's always been the best option in the clutch and that he never thought anyone else could make the shots that matter is just plain hate towards LeBron. Kyrie is obviously a really good player, but this statement sounds like Kyrie thinks he was the reason that the Cavaliers won the championship, and it's just really not a good look for Kyrie. Also, interestingly enough, the season before Kyrie left the Cavs, it seems as though he was actually pretty bad in clutch time without LeBron. In that final season with the Cavaliers, the team was outscored by 90 points in 574 minutes when Irving played and James didn't. In the playoffs, they were outscored by 30 points in 61 minutes. In the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, the Cavs were outscored 37-13 when Irving was on the court and James was off. And yeah, I get that's just one example, but let's look at some more stats. In the final 2 minutes of a game in the playoffs, when the team either is down or has to take the lead, LeBron is 30 for 66 on shot attempts, while Kyrie is 2 for 7. You can see what those percentages are on this graphic, but Kyrie saying he's so clutch and all that is just straight baloney. LeBron probably has shot and hit more clutch time playoff buckets than most players ever, while Kyrie, although he hit the go-ahead bucket to win the championship, doesn't have much more to back up that claim with. Kyrie's comments are of course pretty whack, and it was even worse because he made those comments while LeBron James was on his way to a 4th championship, while Kyrie was just sitting there doing a podcast. LeBron did address those comments, and it came after winning Game 1 of the series. When asked a question about how him and Anthony Davis work so well together, LeBron responded, "We're not jealous of each other. I think that's the best thing. In professional sports, you have guys that join forces. 2 alpha males is what they call them. They get together and talk about how dominant they can be, and they talk about how this is going to be this and that. I believe jealousy creeps in a lot, and that is the absolute contrary of what we are. We know who we are. We know what we're about, and we want the best. Seriously, every single day, on and off the floor, for one another. We're just not jealous of one another. And I think when you align that with respect, I think sky's the limit." In that response, LeBron pointed out a couple of really good points. First, he said that him and Anthony Davis aren't jealous of each other, which is alluding to the fact that Kyrie was admittedly jealous of LeBron because he took all the spotlight away from him. LeBron also talked about how good teammates can speak about how they think they're dominant and how things are going to work out, which is another shot at Kyrie, as on the podcast, Kyrie was pointing out an aspect of the game that he believed he was better than LeBron at. And overall, LeBron is trying to lift his teammates up, rather than knock them down, while it doesn't seem like Kyrie was willing to do that with LeBron. With all of the media talking about Kyrie's comments, he responded, "Why must it always be brother against brother? Why? If I'm addressing anyone, I'll say their name." Kyrie went on to say, "Don't listen to the false narratives. Let people live their lives. It's just a game. Talk about the art. Talk about the sport. We talk openly and freely. But because we live in a clickbait society, it becomes something bigger. We don't have to defend it. It's just what media is. It's entertainment. I'm not going to let it put me against anybody anymore at any point. That's not what it's about. We talk freely, openly, and that's our society. Say how you feel. Don't have to put me against anyone else. It's never been about that. It's about love." Now, honestly, I think this response was pretty trash from Kyrie. I'm pretty sure LeBron knew what he was doing when he made those comments, and just deflecting by blaming the media and culture for talking about his comments is just a cop out from the question. And I think that's pretty typical Kyrie fashion, where he tries to give some philosophical answer to excuse his behavior. LeBron and the Lakers ended up winning the championship, getting his fourth Finals MVP as well. In the offseason, LeBron went on a podcast and addressed what he thought about Kyrie's comments. LeBron said, "I was a little like, damn. Once I got the whole transcript, I was like, damn. I wasn't like, oh, you trippin'. I've hit game winning shots my whole life. I was not like that. I was like, damn. I played with Kyrie for 3 seasons. The whole time when I was there, I only wanted to see him be MVP of our league. I only cared about his success. And it just didn't align. It just didn't align. And we were able to win a championship. That's the craziest thing. We were still able to win a championship, and we could never align. But I only cared about his well being, both on and off the floor. And it kind of hurt me a little bit." I think LeBron summed it up well. LeBron's always been a team first guy. He uplifts his teammates, and he doesn't go for the individual accolades. The reason why LeBron's teams are so successful is because he works well with the teams that he's a part of, and people like playing with him. And I don't know if I can say the same about all other players. So, what's the future of this beef? There's a possibility that the Nets and Lakers meet up in the NBA Finals this year, and that would be an epic meetup. If we get that matchup, you know there's going to be some shots thrown, and the beef will continue. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.